Lydia Carter stepped out of the gleaming opulence showroom on Savoy Place, shoulders squared though her heart pounded. A moment earlier, the boutique's floor manager, Gregory Sinclair, had guided her to the door with a too friendly grip on her arm. "People dressed like you don't belong here," he had murmured, lips curving into a thin smile. Patrons in silk suits and evening gowns had paused in their shopping, whispering as Lydia walked away, chin lifted in quiet protest. Clad in soft leggings, an oversized sweatshirt, and worn sneakers, Lydia embodied comfort over couture, yet nothing about her casual ensemble diminished her dignity. She had come for a gift, not spectacle, and for a fleeting moment opulence's crystal chandeliers and velvet-draped display cases had felt less like luxury than a gaudy stage on which she played the fool. 20 minutes later, Lydia emerged onto the sunlit boulevard, her pulse settling. She checked her phone, 11:15 a.m. Her husband would arrive soon. She resolved not to tell him what had transpired. At precisely 12:05, a sleek black sedan glided to a halt by the curb. The door opened and Jonathan Carter, CEO of Carter Holdings, stepped out, tie impeccable, posture commanding. He paused, surveying the storefront before spotting Lydia on the sidewalk. A cool wind brushed his tailored coat as he approached with measured strides. Lydia turned at the soft click of his shoes on pavement and met his gaze. In that instant, the power dynamic shifted. The same woman dismissed by Sinclair moments ago now stood at the side of one of the city's most influential figures. Jonathan's eyes flickered with concern and purpose as he slipped an arm around Lydia's shoulders. Together, they set their course back toward opulence, this time on Lydia's terms. Under the midday sun, Lydia Carter and Jonathan Carter strolled Savoy Place, a boulevard renowned for its flagship luxury shops. At 45, Lydia moved with calm assurance, her sandy hair tied into a low braid, her loose linen blouse and soft trousers testament to her preference for ease. Jonathan, his dark hair flecked with silver, walked beside her in a navy blazer tailored to perfection. Jonathan paused beside a sidewalk cafe, noting Lydia's distracted gaze. "Are you all right?" he asked, voice low. She gave a small nod, brushing away any mention of the showroom incident. Today was his birthday, and she had planned every detail, an intimate lunch, followed by a surprise she hoped would convey her gratitude for 15 years of partnership. She smiled at Jonathan. "Let's find the watch." They reached opulence's polished facade at 12:30 p.m. Lydia consulted the small leather notebook she always carried in her tote, handwritten notes on the watch's provenance, photographs she'd studied late at night. The timepiece was a rare 1965 Chronomaster in rose gold, known among collectors for its unique dial engraving. Jonathan slipped an arm through hers. "Shall we?" Stepping inside, they were greeted by the gentle chime of the door. The air smelled faintly of sandalwood and untouched leather. Walls of ivory display cases glowed under recessed lighting. Jonathan gave Lydia a reassuring squeeze, then moved aside, letting her take the lead. Lydia walked with purpose to the center case, where the Chronomaster rested on black velvet. Before she could reach the case, a well-dressed attendant approached, Clara Monroe, opulence's senior consultant. Clara's dark dress was immaculate, her bun so tight it seemed forged in steel. She offered a polite smile, one that didn't touch her cool eyes. "Good afternoon, Miss Carter," Clara said, voice poised yet distant. "How may I assist you today?" Lydia pointed to the rose-gold watch. "I'd like to see that, please." Clara's brow arched. "That piece is priced at $92,000. She paused, as though expecting hesitation. Lydia's lips curved in a practiced smile. "I'm prepared." Clara retrieved a small key from a satin pocket and unlocked the case with exaggerated care. Each click of the lock seemed to echo through the hushed room. She lifted the Chronomaster by its clasp, as if the metal itself might snap under the wrong touch. Sliding it onto a leather pad, she extended it toward Lydia, arm's length away. Lydia admired the watch's subtle patina and the delicate engraving of a falcon in flight. "It's exquisite," she murmured, eyes alight. Clara cleared her throat. Shall we discuss payment options? Lydia met her gaze steadily. Let's proceed. Clara's fingertips hovered over a ledger embossed in gold. She glanced toward Jonathan, who observed from the side with an inscrutable expression. Their silent communication, each raised eyebrow, each subtle nod, underscored the ritual of wealth recognition practiced within these walls. Lydia inhaled slowly, heart steady. This watch was more than a gift. It was a symbol of shared history, of time spent building something lasting. She placed her hand over Clara's to guide the chronomaster back into its case and allowed a momentary flash of empathy to cross Clara's composed mask. Even in this sanctuary of exclusion, kindness could flicker, if one chose to see it. As Lydia and Clara completed the initial paperwork, they became aware of another presence. Gregory Sinclair, Opulence's general manager, had entered from a side door. His posture was regal, his Italian suit cut to emphasize breadth at the shoulders. Sinclair's pale eyes swept the room, pausing on Lydia's simple outfit as though she were an unsolvable puzzle. He approached with the practiced grace of someone versed in silencing dissent. Clara bowed her head, stepping aside to allow her superior to speak. Ms. Carter, Sinclair began, voice measured. Our policy for high-value items requires verification of funds before finalizing any sale. He offered Lydia a gentle smile that didn't reach his eyes. A platinum card or equivalent proof is sufficient. Lydia's pulse quickened, but her tone remained calm. I understand your security measures. My husband is inside. Shall I ask him to join us? She gestured toward Jonathan, who met Sinclair's gaze squarely. Sinclair's lips twisted into a polite smirk. Of course, you may wait for your companion. However, we do have other clients who require attention. He nodded toward a couple lounging on velvet chairs, waiting, it seemed, for an invitation. Clara swallowed, tension flickering across her composed face. Jonathan stepped forward. Mr. Sinclair, I assure you the funds are available. My wife and I will complete this transaction today. His voice was soft but carried unmistakable authority. Sinclair's expression flickered with hesitation. He inclined his head. Very well, Mr. Carter. I apologize for any inconvenience. Behind them, an unmistakable murmur rippled through the showroom as a well-known movie star, Isabel Baxter, entered. Instantly, the entire staff's demeanors shifted. Clara's posture softened, her tone grew effusive. Ms. Baxter. A pleasure, please allow me to show you our newest sapphire collection in the private salon. Baxter offered a gracious nod before turning toward a hidden doorway. Sinclair returned his full attention to Lydia. Ms. Carter, please excuse our standard procedure. Let us continue. He gestured grandly to a private lounge area. Clara produced a sleek payment tablet, and Lydia punched in her information, every keystroke a quiet reclamation of respect. As Lydia and Jonathan completed the purchase, Sinclair hovered at an imperceptible distance, orchestrating the interactions like a conductor. Behind his polite facade, residual skepticism lingered, an ingrained belief that appearances dictated privilege. Yet as Lydia reclaimed the watch from the velvet cushion, Sinclair seemed to weigh something deeper than fabric or bank balance. Lydia slipped the chronomaster onto her wrist and closed her eyes briefly, savoring its weight. Jonathan placed a reassuring hand over hers, and together they stepped out of the private lounge. The opulent chime announced their departure, but this time Lydia left not with humiliation but with vindication. She had navigated the gauntlet of elitist ritual and emerged whole. The sound of high heels echoed through Opulence's main salon as Isabella Baxter re-entered, this time draped in a rare sapphire necklace displayed on a black velvet bust. Every staff member she passed straightened instantly. Sinclair himself bowed with a showman's flourish. The previous tension around Lydia's transaction seemed forgotten, a stark testament to how quickly royalty of any kind could reclaim the spotlight. In the showroom center, Lydia Carter and Jonathan Carter paused by a display of vintage cufflinks. Jonathan studied her reflection in the polished glass. You handled that brilliantly, he murmured, voice brimming with pride. Lydia's smile was soft but edged with lingering frustration. It shouldn't have been necessary. Clara Monroe approached with 2 flutes of champagne, a concession from her earlier reserve. Congratulations on your acquisition, she said, tone warmer than before. Lydia inclined her head. Thank you, Clara. And thank you for your assistance. Jonathan lifted his glass. To Lydia, who reminds us that true worth isn't defined by clothing or protocol. Staff and a handful of patrons raised theirs in quiet homage. Sinclair watched from the perimeter, arms folded. His neutral mask concealed the tension beneath. Had he misjudged Lydia's place? As Lydia and Jonathan drifted toward the exit, a small group of customers lingered by the Chronomaster case. A couple admired the rose-gold finish, a collector snapped photos on his phone. Word of Lydia's purchase seemed to travel through the crowd like electric current. Opulence's aura of exclusivity wavered for a moment, replaced by genuine appreciation of craftsmanship over credentials. Yet doubt persisted in Lydia's mind. She recalled Sinclair's initial dismissal, Clara's hesitation, and the instant deference to Baxter. Even Jonathan's calm assurance had been needed to quell the doubt. Was opulence truly a place for authentic patrons, or merely a stage for enacted privilege? At the exit, a valet retrieved Jonathan's sedan. He opened the passenger door for Lydia, who paused at the threshold. Sinclair caught her eye and offered a curt nod, an acknowledgement more profound than any apology. Lydia gave the slightest smile in return before stepping into the car. As the door closed, she felt the cool spring breeze brush her face. Jonathan folded the Chronomaster's certificate and slipped it into her tote. Let's get to lunch, he said gently. Lydia exhaled, tension easing. Yes, she replied, and afterward, let's find somewhere that values us for who we are, not what we wear. The sedan pulled away from opulence, its mirror reflecting a boutique that, for all its grandeur, had been reminded of a fundamental truth: substance over style prevails, if only one has the courage to demand it. Back at their favorite bistro on Savoy Place, Lydia and Jonathan slipped into a corner booth. The table was set with delicate linen and crystal glasses that caught the afternoon light. Lydia cradled her champagne flute, swirling the bubbles as Jonathan studied her face. I hate that you had to go through that, he said quietly. His tone was both tender and unyielding. Lydia met his gaze. It happens everywhere, people judge before they know. She paused, watching a server glide by, thinking of how Sinclair had summoned staff to fawn over Baxter while ignoring her. Jonathan's jaw tightened. Opulence is part of Golden Crown Retail, my firm acquired them last quarter. He watched the moment her glass paused mid-air. Lydia's breath hitched. You never mentioned that. He leaned forward. We kept the acquisition quiet until all paperwork finalized. But now that they've wronged you, we have leverage. His calmness carried steel. Lydia set down her glass. What are you planning? Jonathan allowed a hint of a smile. First, they apologize. Then, they make a donation to the Carter Foundation's Equality and Access Fund, twice the amount of your watch. He reached across the table, covering her hand. They'll also enroll all staff in a new training program on unconscious bias. Lydia squeezed his hand. That's impressive. She studied the menu, though she no longer cared about lunch. And if they resist? Jonathan's eyes were unwavering. Then we take our business, and our social influence, elsewhere. Opulence's reputation hinges on exclusivity, a high-profile shaming would cost them. He paused as a server placed their orders, truffle salad for Lydia, roasted lamb for him. But they'll choose to comply. Across the table, Lydia drew in a slow breath. Part of me feels guilty, this is just a watch. She toyed with a lemon wedge. But it's about more than jewelry. It's about dignity. Jonathan raised his glass again. To dignity, he toasted. Lydia clinked her flute against his. Later that afternoon, Jonathan placed a discreet call from his office. Within an hour, Lydia received an apology email from Sinclair, profuse and contrite, and a confirmation of a $184,000 donation to the Carter Foundation. She forwarded the email to her assistant, knowing it would make headlines. That evening, the boutique's windows displayed a new sign. Opulence is proud to partner with the Carter Foundation in advancing equal opportunity. Lydia saw it from her study as she prepared for the next day. She clasped the chronomaster on her wrist and thought of every woman dismissed for her appearance. Tomorrow, at the Foundation's gala, she would speak about how a simple shopping trip had sparked systemic change. 2 weeks later, Lydia Carter stood on the stage of the Carter Foundation Gala, the hall's crystal chandeliers shimmering overhead. Attendees from across the city's philanthropic community filled every seat. The banner behind her read, "Equality in Access, Opening Doors for All." She adjusted the lapel of her tailored blazer, resisting the urge to recall her leggings and sweatshirt at Opulence. The chronomaster gleamed at her wrist, a symbol of both resilience and reform. She took a steadying breath and smiled at the audience. "Thank you all for joining us tonight," Lydia began, voice clear and warm. 15 days ago, I experienced what too many face daily, judgment before understanding. But that moment also revealed something powerful, our capacity to demand respect, to convert offense into opportunity. She touched her wrist. "This watch," she continued, "was meant as a birthday gift. Instead, it became a catalyst for change." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd as she detailed how Opulence's leadership, under corporate guidance, had instituted unconscious bias training and contributed to the Foundation's endowment. "We didn't just secure my purchase," Lydia said with a soft laugh, "we opened doors for others who deserve more than a second glance." From the sidelines, Jonathan watched with pride as Lydia recounted her story. Even Gregory Sinclair sat in the front row, invited to witness the outcome of his own misjudgment, pen in hand, eyes lowered in reflection. After her speech, Lydia moved among the guests, accepting congratulations. A young designer approached, offering her partnership in a new mentorship program for underrepresented artisans. A tech CEO asked her advice on inclusive hiring. Everywhere she went, doors previously closed swung wide. That evening, as Lydia and Jonathan rode home through the city lights, she rested her head on his shoulder. "I never imagined buying a watch could do all that," she whispered. He kissed her temple. "You turned a slight into something extraordinary." Lydia glanced at the chronomaster one last time before placing it beside her on the seat. "It's not about the watch," she said. "It's what we do with the moments that try to diminish us." Jonathan nodded, engine humming in the night. In the weeks that followed, Opulence rolled out similar initiatives across its flagship stores, customer care workshops, inclusive hiring fairs, and community outreach events. Local news outlets hailed the retailer's transformation. Proof that one consumer's courage can reshape an entire institution. And in her home study, Lydia pinned a simple note beneath her vision board: "When judged by appearance, choose to rewrite the narrative." The Carter home was quiet, but its message resonated loudly: dignity, once demanded, becomes the foundation for enduring change.